last area of the series, we talked about using our brains to analyze the bias out of existence, to basically show ourselves how silly they are and how they're rooted in so little. This time I'd like to talk about the function that identifying what we share, what we have in common, focusing on the common ground, has to do with reducing bias. What we found through study of many different organizations through time is that if we can begin to think of our colleagues as an us rather than a them, our biases tend to be minimized. Let me give you an example. Let's say that you're a cat lover, okay? I'm a dog lover, right? I can look at you as a them. Oh, it's them, those cat lovers. And because you're a them, different than me, it's easier for me to put a label on you and to put characteristics on you as a group that you probably don't even have. So we're different, dog lover, cat lover. Let's say for the moment, however, that we shifted our focus from how we differ to what we have in common. And in this case, that would mean that we would begin to focus on you and I as animal lovers. All of a sudden, we're an us. All of a sudden, there's not a them and a me anymore. Now, let me put in a little disclaimer here. I'm not saying for a moment that we don't still honor how we differ. You're still a cat lover, I'm still a dog lover, but at the exact same moment, we begin to focus on what we have in common. And when we do that, not only do we no longer look at the other person as a different person with particular characteristics, i.e. with biases, we have the opportunity to get to know each other as individuals and all the things that make us individual. So, what can we do in our workplaces to bring about this transition from a them into an us? Well, one thing we can do is to set up groups that are employee resource groups, sometimes they're called affinity groups, in our organizations that mix people together. Traditionally, we've had a lot of affinity groups along ethnic lines, gender lines, sexual orientation, and the like. But organizations are starting now to have groups around shared interests and concerns. For example, elder care, vets groups, people who have adopted children, people who have disabilities. Any kind of a category in which there's a shared concern brings people together who are in some ways different races, different ages, different ethnic groups, and puts them under an umbrella of what they have in common. That automatically begins to reduce bias. Another thing we can do in our workplace, similarly, is to have clubs, hobbies, volunteer work, gatherings in which people come together around a shared goal. That goal might be to raise money for an organization. It might be to learn how to do square dancing. It might be to just have fun. That shared goal creates an us that reduces bias. And finally, as individuals, each of us would do well to begin to reach out to those who in some way appear different from us, to spend time with them, preferably relaxed time that allows us to be informal to an appropriate degree and get to know those individuals. The more we do that, the more we're going to identify what we share and the less bias we're going to have between us.